Cai Thomas is a Chicago filmmaker who describes herself as a documentarian who tells verite stories at the intersection of location, self-determination, and identity about Black youth and elders. She certainly does that in her film, Change the Name.
Hey, how you doing, Nancy? And the audience, thank you, wherever you all are, whether it's virtual or in person at the theater, for making the time to watch my documentary and the other lineup of shorts tonight.
Thank you. Everybody's delighted to see you as well. Um, this project had a very interesting genesis. Could you tell us how it came about and how you followed these kids for 3 years?
Yeah, so I was living in New York when I first learned about Village Leadership Academy, which is in Chicago. A mentor of mine was like, hey, there's this really cool school in Chicago. You haven't really made a film since you graduated 2 years ago. Like, you should get back into documentary. So that mentor was kind enough to like pay for me to go to Chicago and to spend time with the school. And as I spent time with the school, I learned about Bianca, who's the educator featured in the film, and the organizing that her class was doing. I was like, wait, what? You have a fifth graders who are going on trains and actively organizing? Like, that wasn't something conceptually that I could like comprehend. So I was really interested in visually in like what their organizing looked like. So I started documenting them in 2018. And in 2020, when the world kind of erupted in a very specific way, the campaign was reinvigorated, and Bianca reached back out to me to be like, hey, I really think you should be filming. And once it became clear that the park district was going to change the name of the park, it was like, oh, I have a new film on my hands that has like a resolute ending to make. So yeah, I first met Bianca and her students in April of 2018. And in 2021 is when we premiered this new iteration, Change the Name, which you all saw at the Tribeca Film Festival and had its TV broadcast on BET.
Which is very exciting. Tell me, what was it like to see the kids a few years later? How had they changed and grown?
Just personality wise, right? We're all teenagers. As you mature, your personality comes a little bit more formed, right? I think Renaya and Zari as two young girls, it's been really interesting to see like their change and then what they're curious about in the world. Like, right, as you age, your fashion changes, like how you text changes, like what feels important to you. And that's really fun to be able to like watch as an older person in their life.
Where do you think they're going to go from here? You know, a few of them were so articulate and charismatic.
Yeah,
And
so I know Zahir wants to be a lawyer, and so does Renaya.
great.
And Zari is figuring it out, but they're still like young people who are very invested in what their day-to-day lives look like. They're in high school now, and we did a community screening last month in Chicago, and we're just like hanging out in the green room, catching up. And they're like, yeah, at my new school, I'm already organizing. Like, I read the student handbook, and there are things that I didn't agree with. So like, I set up a meeting with the principal. So they feel really affirmed to challenge authority, which I think is a good thing.
Great.
And I'm excited for what the adult versions of their lives look like and how they'll feel about the film when they're older too.
So tell us about the Queen Collective at Tribeca and how it's impacted your career in the film.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate enough to produce this program through P&G, Procter and Gamble, and Tribeca Studios has a program that it runs with Queen Latifah. Every year she picks usually two Black women filmmakers and funds a short documentary. And this year they actually selected 4 projects. And with that support came financial support and mentorship and guidance. Tribeca came on in January of this year, and we had to like make sure to finish the film by like April or May, which is a really tight turnaround. And what's really great with the financial resources, this was the first time as a filmmaker I was able to have my film color corrected. This was the first time I was able to hire a composer. This was the first time I didn't have to solely produce my film alone. Like, I was able to get all of the resources that I needed to execute this project at a certain level, which is something that's really amazing. And now I have like the sisterhood of these other filmmakers as well. And I can say that like I had my film premiere at a top tier film festival on a top tier network and show what I'm capable of doing as a filmmaker, which is really great to then help me to continue to be considered for other director for hire opportunities.
So, do you have anything coming up?
We've done screenings on the west and south side of Chicago and are looking forward to collaborating with educators. Like, it's really lovely for me to know this Shortcuts is an association with the library. I want to do programming with libraries too, because as a young person, that's where I spent a lot of my time after school. Was like I was either at the library or like playing basketball or doing extracurricular, and just thinking about the ways that we can cultivate young people and affirm them in their identity is something that's really important to me. And I feel like I'll continue to make films, specifically like you said earlier, about Black youth and Black elders, because I think those ends of the age spectrum, we don't see enough documentary storytelling or even narrative storytelling, quite honestly.
I am interested in talking to you offline about screening here because I think it is a really important film for students to see about what their possibilities are. And everybody at the library is listening now, and we've got a great speaker program, so we're going to see if we can make that happen. Final question before we have to sign off. This is a very important week for you. What week is this for you in Change the Name?
Oh, it's the anniversary. I'm like, what's going
We
on? Do you know something?
forgot.
Yeah, so today, when you're watching this as an audience member, will be the 1 year anniversary of the name change being official, which is really exciting. And we're hoping to do some more programming in Chicago. And to me, a big part of making this film was making sure that this moment would be kind of solidified in history, and for people to know that like young folks did this organizing is something that's really important. So happy to share it with the community here in Connecticut.
And happy anniversary to you. And thank you so much for joining us, Cai. And thanks so much for Change the Name.